Okay, let's talk about antibiotics, which are substances or chemicals which are produced by microorganisms such as fungi to kill other microorganisms such as bacteria, which you might want to add over here. So do not confuse antibiotics with antibodies, because some people like to confuse these two similar sounding words. Antibiotics essentially is medication which is either injected or swallowed. And this medication kills bacteria and basically helps to cure the person. And why do these microorganisms such as fungi, why do some of them produce these antibiotics? Well, they do that because they want to have an advantage for themselves. If they block the growth of other microorganisms, then they themselves have more nutrients and more resources available. So for them, it's an evolutionary advantage to have these antibiotics. And when you're able to isolate and extract these antibiotics, then you can also use them for treating people. So the first antibiotic was penicillin. And it was discovered by Alexander Fleming in the 1920s. He discovered it rather by accident. He saw that a fungus with the name penicillium was able to block the growth of bacteria, and he then said, "Well, that sounds kind of cool. Why don't we just grow the fungus and extract the substance, which was then called penicillin, and sell the substance for treatment?" There's, however, one important thing here. Antibiotics, they work against bacteria, but not against viruses. And that is something that needs to be explained a little bit, and I'd like to make a drawing. You have to know that viruses reproduce by invading a cell. In the case of human beings, by invading a eukaryotic cell. So what I have over here is I'm going to draw my cell over here, very quick and nasty, with the nucleus over here, and out here I'm going to draw the virus. And this virus goes into the cell, invades the cell, starts to reproduce in the cell. So I have, badly drawn now, many of these viruses now being produced inside the cell. They're, by the way, drawn a little bit too big, but you get the idea. They exit the cell dies in the process, and many of these viruses are now released, which can now infect other cells. And in order to reproduce inside the cell here, the virus has to use the enzymes and the functioning and the machinery of the cell. And if you want to block the reproduction of this virus, and if you give some kind of chemical that blocks these enzymes, then you're actually also killing your own body cells, and you have side effects. So there are no antibiotics that work against viruses, but what you have to do is you have to find a specific chemical to block specific metabolic enzymatic processes of the virus. But you cannot have a general medication like antibiotics that works against all viruses. It's not going to work. Because essentially you'll end up killing your own body cells because the virus uses the chemistry of your own body cells. So it does not work against viruses. Why does it work against bacteria? And the thing is that bacteria are prokaryotes, and they have different enzymes than we human beings have. So if I have over here a bacterial cell, and over here on the outside I have the cell wall, then you have to understand that, of course, we human beings do not have a cell wall. And if you now are able to block the synthesis, the making of this bacterial cell wall, by blocking the enzyme that makes the wall, then of course the cell is too weak, it pops open and it dies. So that's basically how penicillin works. Penicillin blocks the making of a cell wall, of a bacterial cell wall, and therefore it kills off many different bacterial cells. And that is the reason why it works. And of course, fungi, while they also have a cell wall, but the cell wall is quite different than the cell wall of bacteria. Therefore, the penicillin which is produced by fungi will not harm other fungi or itself. The penicillin will attack bacteria that have a cell wall. And so that's basically it. So to summarize a little bit, antibiotics are chemical substances. They're produced by one type of microorganism to kill other types of microorganisms. And in the case of penicillin, it kills these bacteria, these microorganisms, by blocking the making of a cell wall. And antibiotics work against bacteria because they have their own metabolism, their own biochemical functioning and working, but not against viruses because they use the biochemistry and the metabolism of a cell. And if you were to attack the virus, then there's a high risk of also attacking your own body cells, and then you have side effects, and you don't want that. So that was basically that's basically it.